Janelle Carter stepped out of the black car and looked up at the grand building that stood tall in front of her. The luxury hotel shimmered in the late afternoon sun. It was one of the best in the city, elegant, modern, and expensive. But to Janelle, it was more than just a building. It was her dream, her hard work, her success. She was the CEO, the silent owner, the woman who built it all from the ground up. But today, she came alone, without telling anyone who she was. Her flight had been delayed and her luggage lost. She wore simple jeans, a white shirt, and her hair was tied back. No makeup, no assistant, no business suit, just Janelle, tired, but calm. She wanted to experience her hotel like a regular guest. To see how her staff treated people when they didn't know who was watching, she walked into the lobby and smiled. The marble floors shined, the chandeliers sparkled, and soft music played in the background. It was perfect until she reached the front desk. The young man at the counter looked at her without smiling. He glanced at her clothes, then at the computer screen. "Can I help you?" Bowed flatly. "Yes," Janelle replied kindly. "I have a reservation for the penthouse suite, under the name J. Carter." The man frowned. "But we don't have any suites available tonight," he said quickly, without even checking the system. "We're fully booked." Janelle raised an eyebrow. "I booked it last week." "I have the confirmation email," he sighed, clearly annoyed. "Ma'am, we don't hold rooms for walk-ins who just show up claiming things." She felt a wave of shock inside her, but she didn't. "Show it." "I'm not claiming anything," she said calmly. "I have a reservation, and I'd appreciate it if you'd take a look." Another staff member came over, whispering something to the man at the desk. They both gave her the same cold, distant look, as if she didn't belong there, as if she was trying to cheat the system. She felt invisible in her own hotel. The manager was called, but things didn't get better. He didn't listen. He didn't check. He only repeated the same words. "We're full. Please leave." Janelle stood there, heart heavy, but face calm. She said nothing more. She turned and slowly walked out of the lobby. Her hands trembled slightly as she pulled out her phone. One call, that's all it would take to change everything. But she paused. She looked back one last time. The hotel was beautiful, but the hearts inside it, maybe not so much. She dialed the number and said, "Quietly, tell the director I'm here." Janelle stood just outside the hotel's glass doors, the phone still in her hand. The city lights had started to glow, but something inside her felt dim. She had dreamed of this place for years, this hotel, this symbol of success. Now, just minutes ago, she had been rejected like a stranger. No one had cared to listen. No one had seen her value. They only saw her clothes, her skin, and made a decision. The phone call was short. Her assistant answered on the first ring. "Ms. Carter? Are you all right?" "I'm fine," Janelle said quietly. "Tell Mr. Raymond I'm here, right now, in the lobby." There was a pause. Then her assistant replied, "Right away, ma'am." Janelle took a deep breath and walked back through the tall glass doors. This time her steps were slower, more powerful. The staff at the front desk didn't notice her yet. They were busy laughing softly, unaware of the storm that was coming their way. But just then, hotel director, Mr. Raymond, rushed into the lobby from a side hallway. He was tall, well-dressed, and clearly nervous. His face was pale as he looked around, trying to spot someone. When he saw her, he froze. "Miss Carter?" he asked, almost in disbelief. The room went silent. The front desk clerk turned around, confused. His eyes widened as he watched Mr. Raymond approach the same woman they had just dismissed. Janelle nodded slowly. "Yes, Mr. Raymond, I was here. A few minutes ago, I asked for my room. I was denied rudely, might I add. No one checked the reservation. No one even cared to try." The front desk staff suddenly looked like statues, frozen, terrified, unsure of what to do. I'm so sorry," Mr. Raymond stammered. "There must be some misunderstanding." "There's no misunderstanding," Janelle replied, her voice calm but sharp. "This was a test. I came without the suit, without the title, without the usual team, and your staff failed." She turned to the clerk who had refused her. His face had gone red. He tried to speak, but no words came out. The manager behind the desk stepped forward nervously. Double quotes, "Ms. Carter, we had no idea." "Please, give us a chance to explain." Janelle looked at them both, her eyes steady. "You didn't treat me poorly because you didn't know who I was. You treated me poorly because you didn't care. You judged me, dismissed me, and refused to show basic kindness. That speaks more than any excuse." The entire lobby was quiet now. Even the music in the background seemed softer. Janelle took a deep breath. "You're both dismissed, effective immediately. Kindly hand over your badges to Mr. Raymond." Gasps echoed in the room. The two employees stood frozen, their mouths open in shock. But Janelle didn't flinch. "I built this place with values," she said, "and I won't allow anyone to stand at the front of my hotel without respect in their heart." Without waiting for a response, she turned to the elevator. The doors opened silently, as if welcoming her home, and this time no one dared stop her. As the elevator doors closed behind her, Janelle took a long breath. She leaned back against the wall and closed her eyes. Her heart wasn't racing with anger, but with pain. Not because they didn't recognize her, but because they didn't even try to treat her with kindness. What if she wasn't the CEO? Would she have left feeling invisible, unwanted, and unwelcome? Probably yes. The elevator stopped at the top floor. The doors opened to the grand hallway leading to the penthouse. Sweet. Soft lights lit the quiet path. A hotel assistant, now fully aware of who she was, stood nervously at the door and opened it for her. "Welcome, Ms. Carter," he said quickly, not meeting her eyes. Janelle gave a small nod and stepped inside. The room was beautiful, just like she had designed it. Floor-to-ceiling windows showed the city lights below. Everything was perfect, except the feeling in her chest. She walked slowly to the window, watching the city she had once struggled in, now bowing beneath her success. Moments later, Mr. Raymond arrived at the suite, knocking gently. "May I come in?" he asked, voice soft. Janelle turned, her face calm but unreadable. "Come in," entered, holding a tablet in his hands, and behind him, the hotel's senior staff stood quietly. Everyone looked worried. They knew they had failed. Not just at service, but at respect. "Miss Carter," Mr. Raymond began, "I want to apologize again, deeply. The moment I heard you were here, I came running. I had no idea the staff would act this way." Janelle raised her hand slightly, stopping him. "It's not just about me, Mr. Raymond. This isn't about the CEO being disrespected. It's about how easy it was for your team to make assumptions. If they did this to me, they could do it to anyone." The room stayed silent. I could have walked in as a businesswoman, a traveler, or just a tired person needing rest. But the moment they saw me alone, dressed casually, and black eye became someone not worth their time. Her voice was steady, but her words were heavy. She looked around the room. "I started this hotel with a vision, a place where everyone would be treated like royalty, not based on their looks. It's not based on their clothes, but based on their humanity." One of the senior staff, an older woman from the events team, stepped forward with tears in her eyes. "Miss Carter, we are so sorry. Can't believe this happened in your own house." Janelle gave a small smile, tired but sincere. "It's not about being sorry. It's about fixing what's broken." She turned back to Mr. Raymond. "Starting tomorrow, I want a full review of staff training. I want everyone to go through inclusion and hospitality programs. Real ones, not just checkboxes. And I want new leadership at the front desk." He nodded quickly. "Absolutely. Consider it done." Janelle looked out the window again. The city blinked beneath her like stars. She wasn't just building a hotel. She was building a message. And that message had to be loud and clear. Respect is not optional. The next morning, the hotel lobby was quieter than usual. There was tension in the air. Everyone had heard what happened the night before. Whispers moved from room to room like soft winds. Some people felt nervous, some embarrassed, and some afraid of what was coming next, but no one expected what they saw next. Janelle walked into the lobby dressed in a sharp black blazer, her hair neatly tied and a calm, serious look on her face. Behind her, Mr. Raymond followed, holding a clipboard, and looking even more nervous than before. "Call all front desk staff to the lounge," Janelle said firmly. Now, within 10 minutes, the lounge area was filled with staff members, the same people who had stood behind the counter yesterday, laughing and ignoring her. Now, they were silent. Eyes down, hands folded, faces pale. Janelle stood in front. Of them, she didn't yell. She didn't raise her voice. But every word she spoke carried weight. "When I walked in yesterday," she began, "I wasn't looking for special treatment. I wasn't expecting a red carpet. I just wanted to be treated like any guest should, be kindly, with respect." No one spoke. Some eyes started to tear up, but instead I was judged. I was looked at like I didn't belong, refused and pushed aside. And it wasn't because you didn't recognize me. It was because of what I looked like. Few employees looked up, guilty and ashamed. "Imagine if it had been someone else," Janelle continued. "Someone who couldn't make one phone call to change everything. Someone who would have left hurt, angry, and feeling small. Is that what we stand for here?" One young woman from the front desk, Anna, finally spoke. Her voice shook. "Ms. Carter, I am so sorry, I didn't know. I just thought you thought I didn't belong," Janelle interrupted softly. "And that thought is the problem." There was a long silence. "I built this hotel to be a safe place for all people, rich or poor, dressed in designer clothes or travel-worn shoes. I know what it's like to be treated like I'm less, simply because of my skin, my background, or my silence. That's why this place was supposed to be different," Anna began, to cry quietly. Janelle looked at her with a mix of sadness and understanding. "I'm not here to destroy your future," she said gently. "But I am here to protect the future of this hotel and the people who walk through its doors." She turned to Mr. Raymond. "I want every staff member retrained. Those who don't take it seriously will not be a part of this place anymore." Then she looked back at the staff. "Kindness is free, respect is simple, and dignity should never depend on appearance. Let that be the lesson." She gave them one last look, not with hatred, but with hope, and then she walked away, being behind. Silence, reflection, and maybe a new beginning. After the meeting, the hotel felt different. The gold and marble still shined, but the air was heavy. Staff walked slowly, speaking in whispers, eyes filled with worry and regret. No one could forget Janelle's words. Her voice had been calm, but it had shaken the ground beneath their feet. Back in the staff office, Ina sat quietly, her hand shaking. Tears rolled down her cheeks as she thought about the woman she had turned away without listening, without looking properly, without care. She hadn't meant to hurt anyone, but she had. "I didn't think," she whispered to herself. "I just assumed." Janelle stood in her suite, staring out of the window once again. The city was busy, full of movement, but her heart was still. She had faced many things in her life, rejection, failure, but this moment was personal. It was her hotel, her people, and they had failed her. Still, she wasn't bitter. She was disappointed. There was a soft knock at the door. Janelle opened it to find Anna standing there, eyes red, shoulders trembling. "Miss Carter," she said in a broken voice. "I know I have no right to ask for anything, but I needed to say something to you, face to face." Janelle nodded and let her in. "I'm so sorry," Anna said, her voice cracking. "Not because you're the CEO, but because I didn't treat you like a human being. I saw your face, your clothes, and I thought you were just someone trying to get something for free. I didn't listen. I didn't care. And that's my failure." Janelle stayed quiet, letting Anna speak. "I come from a small town," Anna continued, "and I worked hard to get this job. But yesterday I forgot where I came from. I forgot how it feels to be looked down on. I let the uniform and desk give me power I didn't deserve." Tears ran freely down her face now. "I don't expect forgiveness," she whispered, "but I wanted to apologize with my whole heart." Janelle's eyes softened. She could see that the apology was real. Anna wasn't just trying to save her job, she was trying to grow. "You made a mistake," Janelle said gently. "But you also showed the courage to face it. That matters." Anna looked up, surprised. "So, I still have a chance?" "That depends," Janelle said. "Not just on your words, but your actions from this point on." "I'll do better," Anna said quickly. "I swear I'll learn, change, and treat every guest like they matter, because they do." Janelle nodded. "Then I'll give you that chance." Anna covered her face with her hands, crying harder now, but this time out of relief. Janelle placed a hand on her shoulder. "This place can only grow if the people inside grow too." As Anna left, Janelle walked back to the window. The city lights twinkled again. Some things had broken, but maybe now they could start healing. 1 week had passed since that unforgettable night. Things were no longer the same at the hotel. Every corner of the building felt like it had been touched by truth. The staff had changed, not just in training but in heart. Janelle had stayed. The entire week, she didn't just sit in her office. She walked the halls, visited the kitchen, watched the housekeeping team, and quietly observed the front desk. But this time, people looked at her differently, not just as the CEO, but as a woman who cared enough to correct what was wrong. Training sessions began every morning. Some staff looked nervous. Some even cried while watching real stories of people who had been judged or mistreated just because of how they looked or spoke. But through these lessons, they began to see more than their roles. They saw people. Anna became one of the strongest voices in the sessions. She stood in front of her coworkers and shared her experience, how she made a mistake, how it hurt someone deeply, and how she chose to face it. Her honesty inspired others. "Ms. Carter didn't have to forgive me," Anna had said, voice soft but clear, but she did. "And now I want to be the kind of person who earns that second chance every single day." Janelle listened quietly from the back of the room that day. A small smile touched her lips. It wasn't about power or position anymore. It was about people changing for the better. Mr. Raymond, too, had changed his way of working. He spent less time behind his desk and more time with the staff. He spoke to them like teammates, not employees. He started listening more than talking. Janelle had spoken to him firmly, but fairly, reminding him that leadership meant responsibility, not just for profits, but for the culture. At night, Janelle sat alone in the penthouse, writing notes, ideas, and letters. One of the letters was to her late grandmother, the woman who raised her, who always told her, "If you ever build something, build it with soul." She whispered those words now as she looked around the room. She had almost lost that soul. But now she was rebuilding it stronger, kinder, and more alive than ever. One evening, a couple entered the hotel, tired from travel, not dressed in fancy clothes. They looked around nervously. Anna was at the front desk. She greeted them with a warm smile. "Welcome to Carter Heights," she said. "We're so happy to have you here. Can I help you check in?" The couple smiled back, clearly surprised by the warmth. From the far end of the lobby, Janelle watched quietly, her heart filled with peace. Change had begun, not through fear, through punishment, but through truth, reflection, and the courage to do better. 3 months later, Carter Heights Hotel had become more than just a luxury place to stay. It had become a story of second chances, growth, and real change. Guests from all walks of life came through the doors and felt something different. It wasn't just the shining marble floors or the sparkling chandeliers, it was the warmth in every smile, the kindness in every greeting, and at the heart of it all was Janelle Carter. She no longer needed to walk through the lobby to check. People were doing their jobs with respect. She saw it in the way guests left thank you notes, in the laughter coming from the cafe. She felt it in the hugs some guests gave to the housekeeping team as they left. Janelle had changed the hotel, but the hotel had changed her too. One morning, she sat in her favorite seat by the large window. In the penthouse suite, a cup of tea in her hand. Her assistant entered, holding a small envelope. "This came for you, Miss Carter," she said with a smile. Janelle opened it slowly. Inside was a handwritten letter. The first words made her heart pause. Dear Miss Carter, you don't know me, but I stayed at your hotel last week. I arrived with my 2 kids, worn out, unsure, and carrying bags full of struggle. We were treated like royalty. Your staff gave us more than a room, they gave us dignity. Thank you, from a single mother, who finally felt seen. Janelle held the letter to her chest. Tears welled in her eyes, not from pain this time, but from peace. This was the reason she had built it all. Later that afternoon, the hotel held a small ceremony in the garden area, new staff being recognized for their growth. Guests sharing kind stories and soft music playing under fairy lights. Janelle stood at the front, dressed in a deep green dress, calm and confident. She looked at the faces in the crowd, Anna, who now trained new hires. Mr. Raymond, standing with his team. Guests smiling with joy, she took the mic and spoke softly. When I started this hotel, I wanted it to be beautiful. But beauty isn't just in walls and lights, it's in people. And sometimes people make mistakes. What matters is what we do after the mistake. Do we hide, or do we face it and grow? The crowd was silent, hanging on every word. This hotel stands for more than luxury. It stands for worth. Everyone who walks through these doors is someone, and that will never change. The applause that followed wasn't loud. It was deep. It was the sound of understanding, of hearts touched that night. As Janelle stood again by her window, she felt something she hadn't felt in a long time, home. Not because she owned the building, but because it finally reflected the heart she had poured into it. A hotel built with grace, a legacy built with love, a woman who never stopped standing tall even when the world looked down.